Minecraft servers. When I say those two words, what do you think of? Most players who have played the game at all, or even just a little bit, will say a minigame server, like Hypixel Network, or maybe a PvP server even. These servers are typically harmless, and many just hop on for a little while just to have fun with their friends. However, many players won't say these anymore, and will say something much more dangerous. These are SMP servers. These types of servers are mine and many others' sworn enemies. The main goal of these servers is to get you to keep playing, waste your hard-earned money on ranks and loot boxes, and cripple your brain into being dependent on the dopamine that the server provides. Even with all of the evidence of these servers breaking Minecraft's EULA guidelines, Mojang still refuses to take any action against them. And while it seems hopeless, there are ways to fight back. Dupers United would like to present to you the duping suite. So, how do dupes even work? Duplication glitches typically happen with coding oversights and errors in logic, which can typically then be exploited by using tools to manipulate the client in certain ways. There's mainly two types of dupes. The first type mainly has to deal with the server-side plugins. These dupes are called plugin dupes. While there are ways to do it without using plugins, these dupes are very rare and typically are patched out by server host providers within a short time frame. These dupes are what we call universal dupes. For simplicity's sake, we will only be working with plugin dupes within this series, as they are much easier to find and just as easy to exploit. Now that we know what kind of dupes we are after, we need to ready our toolbox. These resources are very useful, and it is very hard to do dupes without them. Even when you can dupe without them, it is usually preferred to use these tools anyways. When downloading these resources, make sure that you're downloading for the version of the client that you intend to use to make sure you don't encounter any errors while opening the client. First, we are going to have to download Fabric API and UI utils, which will allow us to easily manipulate packets to our advantage. The next resource we are going to need is Meteor client, which is very legal client that has useful and 100% legal features. Once we download Meteor client, we can download mod add-ons to make our client even more powerful. All these plugins can be found at our brand new Discord server, Dupers United. That's right, baby. It's plug time. Cue the music. Here at Dupers United, we have a wonderful community of active users and regularly release powerful duplication glitches for pay-to-win gambling servers. If you have any questions related to duping, this is the best place to ask them. To join, make sure to click the server link in the description of the video or just type discord.gg/dupes into your search bar. Now, once you have everything downloaded, you're gonna need a client. There's a bunch of good options, but I would argue the best client for duping is Prism Client. Prism Client is a non-profit, lightweight client that allows you to fully customize your installation of the client without the unnecessary bloat. Once you have your client of choice installed, move all your mods into the mod folder and boot up the client. Now, once you're loaded in the game, there's two GUIs that you need to be aware of, being the UI utils GUI and the Meteor client GUI. The first GUI we're going to go over is the UI utils mod, developed by Mr. Break and Fix and CoderX Gamer. This plugin allows you to do most of the GUI functions you'll ever need to do, all in a small compact GUI. The first module we are going to go over is the Fabricate module, which is utterly useless. Just use the meteor.clickslot command. The actual first module is the delay packet function, which is arguably one of the most important modules while duping. When toggled, delay packets takes all packets sent to the server and compiles them into the list, and does not send them until after the function is toggled off. Just as a note for later, While you can use this in the module, it is often preferred to use the Duper's United packet delay module in the Meteor client for reasons we'll go over later in the guide. Moving on to the leave and send packets module, this is typically paired with a delay packets module, which will cause your packets to send immediately and leave the server after they are sent. Next on the list is the close without packet module, which allows us to close GUIs without sending the packet to the server. This allows us to interact with the server while still having the GUI treated as open on the server side. Alright, I'm going to be 100% honest. The desync function is like the middle child, as it can be used, but literally everyone forgets about it because 99% of the time it's absolutely useless. All desync does is close the GUI on the server side and keeps it open on the client side. While this may seem useful, desync exploits have been around for so long to the point where almost every single server has patched them, so it's basically not even worth trying. Now, looking at the send packets module, based on everything that we have gone over, you might think that would be actually useful. But in reality, it is literally just a worse version of the delay packets module. It works pretty much the same as the delay packets module, except for the fact that after it's turned back off, instead of sending all the packets to the server, it just gets rid of them and voids them. All it will do is just create ghost items. Don't use this. Now, moving on to the chat tab module, this is another one of UI utils gems, as it allows us to perform macros and commands that normally would not be possible because of a GUI being open. As well as this, it saves your most recent message in the menu, making it very easy to repeatedly use the same text and commands over and over again. And last, but very much not least, is the save GUI module. The save GUI function is very unique, as it allows for us to save a GUI of our choice that we previously had open, have it saved to a keybind, and once we press that keybind, it allows us to open the menu again. This alone can allow for some very unpredictable and exploitable scenarios. These modules on their own are very strong, but combined with other modules from UI utils and Meteor add-ons is what allows them to exceed at their functions in duping. Now that we've covered the UI util modules, we probably should talk about the elephant in the room. With that being, all of Meteor Client's modules and functions can be accessed by pressing the right shift button on your keyboard. Now, just as a disclaimer, I do not recommend any of the PvP or movement related hacks on the client. A lot of the modules and commands in Meteor Client are not useful for duping. However, there are some big ones that make the duping process significantly easier. There are three main categories that I'm going to be covering while we go over the client and the add-ons for the client that we downloaded, being commands, modules, and macros. Starting off with commands, we have a bunch to talk about. The first and arguably most important command when searching for servers to dupe on is going to be the .server plugins command. This command single-handedly makes the search so much easier, as you can look for specific plugins that you know you can exploit and plugins that you know you can't. I will go more into detail on how you can look for plugins in the future, but just know that the first thing you should do is this command whenever you enter any server. The next command we are going to be talking about is the .clickslot command from the Duper's United add-on. The click slot command acts as a packet fabricator and will click a slot in a specific way based on the given attributes. There are 4 attributes you need to fill out, being the slot number, the button number, the amount of times to click, and the click action. The slot number is the number given to every slot in a GUI. These typically start at 0 and increase from left to right, top to bottom. However, there is one exception to this rule, being the inventory. For some god unknown reason, the inventory click slots are so freaking weird. Like, I genuinely don't understand who thought this order was going to be the best idea. So anyways, here we go. Slot 0 is the crafted item. Slots 1 through 4 being top to bottom, and then left to right are the crafting slots. Armor slots are slots 5 through 8, and then you would think that the offhand slot would be slot 9, but no. Slots 9 through 44 are the inventory slots, and then we get to the offhand slot because it was added in a later version. Oh yeah, and if you click an invalid slot, your game crashes. Anyways, moving on to the module section. The main module that I want to talk about is one that I've already mentioned in the video, being the Dupers United packet delay module. This module works very similar to the other packet delay module, except for the fact that you are able to choose what packets you want to be delayed and what ones you want to be passed on to the server. As well as this, it doubles as a command toggle, which can be toggled with the .toggle packet delay command. Just make sure you don't disable the keep alive plugin, as you will be kicked from the server if the packet does not send to the server. In terms of modules that I could cover, there are a bunch of others such as swarm and spam that I do want to cover eventually, but that's for a later time. Now finally, we have the beloved macro section. Macros make duping so much faster, as it allows you to run multiple commands in succession very easily. To access the macro interface, just click the macros tab at the top of the bar on the Meteor client GUI. From here, you can edit all of your existing macros and create new ones. Now that I've covered pretty much all of the basics when it comes to using your tools at your disposal, where do you go from here? To be honest, there is no one best answer. Finding dupes, to be honest, is very tedious and can take from hours to days just to find one that works. However, the one answer I can give is just to try things. Even if there's a slim chance of it working, just try it. In the next few episodes of this series, I and others will be going over the history of plugins and dupes, common dupes that tend to work with the related plugins, as well as typical logic errors that occur with the plugins. Thank you guys for watching, and I really hope that this made things a little less confusing, and maybe you learned something, even if you're experienced. However, I do have one last message. To the server owners who are still watching this video, I got a great suggestion for you all. This is just a hunch, but you just might want to fix your servers after this video drops.
Yeah, I caught you talking shit, so I scared you out of feet. I ain't never said that word, but if I did, you heard a bleep.